see if we can also see. Okay. All right.
Yeah, excited.
Yes, guys, do you mind to add into the chat where you're coming from? As we're waiting for more people to join us. Just so we get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, are you already a birth keeper? Are you already supporting people in a high-risk situation? Hey, Donna, welcome. Oh, she's in a, okay, she's coming in.
Come on, guys, let's see, where are you from?
A new doula. Brittany is a new doula from Lawrenceville, Georgia. Wow, that's so awesome.
Welcome, Brittany. Yes. Anna, Jerusalem, near Jerusalem. Doula for many years. Welcome, Anna. Thank you so much for joining us. So exciting.
Hi, Donna and Josie.
Hello.
Hello. Nice to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we asking everyone to tell us, where are you from? If you're already supporting clients, if you already work in the birth world in some way or another.
Okay, I can say that. I have been working as a doula, midwife, birth assistant for about 42 years.
Oh, lovely. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. It isn't my full-time work right now. Right now I'm working with children who have developmental delays as a developmental specialist. So, but whenever I can support women, and you know, sometimes we have repeat families that come, so I'll say yes to that. But it's a full life.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I really like what you all are doing over there. So I'm very much in support of it. I will probably have to hop off the call in about 25 minutes because I have to leave my house, but just letting you know.
We get the recording later on, so whatever you'll miss, you'll be able to watch later. But thank you so much for joining us live. It's really exciting to have you here.
Thank you.
Chelsea, new doula, intuitive intelligence trainer. Interesting.
35 and planning to try to get pregnant soon. That's exciting.
Yeah. Congratulations. We're excited for you. Gail, midwife, traveling right now. Awesome. Wonderful. All right. I think we can start. And so first of all, welcome everybody to the webinar today. Let me just hit the play button here. So, oops, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, so we're gonna talk, you know, we call it supporting clients, high-risk clients. But with everything that we do in the Mind Body Birthkeeper, we do look into the mindset around every condition, around every step of the pregnancy, of labor, of birth, basically throughout the childbearing year. And although we call it supporting the high-risk clients, again, we will take it to the side of the birth mindset, and we'll take a look into how we can support our clients by basically shifting their birth mindset. And, you know, we're talking birth mindset, we're talking condition mindset. Do you guys know what do we mean by mindset? Have you been coming across supporting clients or working with clients, or even on your own experience, self-experience? How do you, or what comes to your mind when you hear shifting mindset? If you can just add to the chat, so we'll kind of like stay in touch with you and make sure that we are providing you with what you need during this webinar. So if we're talking about you know, special circumstances, we're talking about high risk, what does the mind even got to do with all of that, right? And here we will start and look into the connection between the mind and the body. There is this tendency these days to have things separated, right? If there's any mental issue, we're going to psychologist or psychiatric care. But if there is a body-related issue, we will go to see a physician or specialist. And sometimes there is kind of like disconnect between the mind and the body. So it is during the childbearing year, and we, during our trainings, try to connect and help you as a birth keeper connect the dots and help your client in a more holistic and complete way. So in the Mind Body Birthkeeper, we actually using the integrative approach. And you know, when we're looking at the childbearing year, there is the mind-body connection, mind-body-soul. And if we want to be very precise, we're talking about two minds, two bodies, two souls, right? The pregnant person and the baby, and sometimes it's three if they have multiple babies inside there. So we are addressing all of that and not looking just at the body or just at the mind or just at the soul, but creating this complete and integrative approach to all of that. Oops, sorry. So today we are going to have a little bit of sneak peek to the type of work that we are doing. We're going to talk about how to do the support of the mind-body Birthkeeper for high-risk clients. We will also share with you some clips from a session with two clients, so you'll be able again to connect the dot and see how those concepts can be translated into your work with your clients. And basically, once you go through the webinar, we are going to share with you the steps, we're going to share with you the questions, and you can take it into your practice and start working this way with your clients basically after this webinar. So let's start by introducing ourselves. I don't know if all of you know us or a little bit knowing us. So Paula, you know, it's very easy to see who's Paula and who's me. And Paula, how about you start and introduce yourself?
Sure. So nice to meet everybody. I'm Paula Aji, and I'm a doula for many years. I've attended hundreds of births, probably about 600 by now. And I'm also a childbirth educator. I'm a hypnobirthing teacher, and I've taught thousands of families. And I'm also a hypnobirthing faculty trainer. So I'm teaching childbirth educators and doulas, midwives, and interested doctors all over the world to support hypnobirthing concepts and hypnobirthing techniques. And all of that led me to meet Gili. Oh, by the way, I'm also a mother and a grandmother of two children.
Thank you, Paula. And you're a healer too.
I am a healer. And a hypnotist. Yeah, so I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Paula. Me? Gili Levitin. I started my journey into having that calling to support pregnant people after the birth of my first baby. Before I was pregnant, before that time, I was a scientist. I came from the more medical scientific approach in my past. And I always say that going through pregnancies, going through labor and birth, we need a new version of ourselves on the other side of it. And this new version that I met was extremely passionate about pregnancy, birth, about the natural aspects of labor and birth, the more spiritual aspect of it. And step by step, I started teaching. I'm a hypnobirthing practitioner, which led me also to support clients during their labor and birth. And I do it for many years now, supported hundreds and hundreds of families in New York area where I'm located. And you know, the funny thing also, I always mention it, I'm a native Israeli who is living in New York City, working in the hypnobirthing and the childbirth support arena. And Paula, my dear friend, is a Native American, actually native New Yorker, I would say, who moved to Israel and doing the same thing over there. So we kind of
switch places.
It's a funny, yeah. So during the past few years, I started also doing mentorship for younger doulas. And that was part of the things that led Paula and me to create this mentorship training program, which is the mind, body, soul, which between us, the healing or the healer aspects of Paula and me coming from the more medical scientific world, kind of like created this bridge between the two worlds. I'm a mother of three. And yeah, that's me. Oops. Okay.
So yeah, so we just want to thank you for coming and joining us today. And we also want to encourage you to stay to the end of the webinar, or if you can't stay, then to hear the recording, because we have a special gift for you for attending our webinar. And you'll find out about it later.
Yeah. So let's start, right? High risk.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to ask you, when you read those words and you see them, how do you take them in? If you hear them spoken aloud, high risk, how do those words sound to you? Take a moment, if you would, to feel inside your own body and feel how it feels to hear that expression, high risk. It's a kind of a label. What does it feel like? Yeah, Anna said they box you in, trap you. Just by hearing those words. Automatic C-section, defeat, unhealthy, yeah. I would like to ask you if you medicalized, could you take a moment and check within your own body and see where you feel those words? You could close your eyes for a minute and just do a little body scan and say to yourself the words high risk. Where does it sit?
It always hits me at the same spot, you know.
Where do you feel it?
For me, it's exactly down at my belly, like a knot. Here in the utero, Brittany, you and me are alike.
Oh, well, she and I are also alike, because I always feel it in my heart and throat. Anna says heavy chest. Yeah. Isn't that interesting how we can actually
your heart.
we can locate this, and Donna says also throat. Yeah, we can locate where these words resonate. They actually have a particular vibration.
Yeah. Oops. I'm trying to bring it. Okay. So, what is, I'm trying to, sorry, I have some technical issue here. I'm trying to bring back the full screen. Oh, okay. So when we're hearing words, as Paula mentioned, there's a certain vibration. We feel it in the body. Now, the interesting thing is that language, words, has an immediate chemical effect in our body that creates a sensation in the body, just like you felt it in the womb, in the heart, in the chest, in the throat. I always look at it, if somebody talks to you with love and adoration, right? You open your heart, it feels good in the body. The way that you express your words is softer and more delightful. But if somebody talks to you in a rude way, in an inappropriate language, you might feel your body shrink closed, right? The way that you will answer. For me, I start, like my eyes start tearing. So it's always, there's this like immediate response that we have in our body.
So I'll just read this out loud. We work with the awareness that there is a neurological, endocrinological, and immunological conversation at work in every one of us that is reflective of our emotional state. Okay, so your feelings are going to be affecting everything that's happening in your body.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to talk about that, Paula?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that in our course, and we'll go into this more in depth, but we are really fascinated by the idea that there is an emotional manifestation of physiological conditions. This goes in two directions, okay? So firstly, we might have certain thought patterns and life experiences that are going to be triggers that lead to certain physiological conditions, okay? And then as soon as we have a physiological condition and we feel it in ourselves, that brings up emotion, oftentimes fear. From there, we may find ourselves at the doctor's office, and then when we hear the news from the doctor, so that also starts a whole new set of emotions that will lead possibly to more physiological conditions. And so it's a fascinating subject because it's a kind of a spiral, right?
Yeah, kind of a vicious cycle where once we started it, it continues and manifests itself and create more in-depth condition in our bodies. Okay. So as we've mentioned before, Paula, I'll stop the share for a second so you'll be able to bring your So as we've mentioned before, we are going to share with you guys the clips from the session that Paula had with two of her clients. Paula, do you want to talk about it? You ready to share?
So, yeah, I'm ready to share. And so actually, the first thing that I wanted to discuss with these women was to ask them to share their diagnosis if they knew what it was, and to explain to me in their own words what they understood about what their diagnosis was. This is a fascinating question because you can learn a lot from how people speak about themselves. So I'm going to put this on, and hang on.
Just do also the full screen.
Yeah, I'll do the full screen. And sorry, 1 second. I just want to make sure we have good sound quality. So I'll set that up right now. And
what the diagnosis, do you know what it is?
I was not considered high risk, but they did an organ screening in the third trimester, which was optional. And they saw that there is an artery in the heart of the baby, and it's an artery that he's not going to need in the future. And it closes after birth, but it looked like perhaps it could be closed before. It was a little bit twisted and a bit small and a bit constricted. So far I've been followed up, and everything's been fine, and the baby is fine. But they said we will not let you we don't take the risk to let you arrive at week 40, because the risk of this artery closing prematurely or suddenly is too high. So it's a bit, it's not, I mean, I wasn't considered high risk the whole pregnancy, but then this just happened, and then they said if you don't go into labor, we'll do a ziruz in the week 39.
What week are you on?
30, end of 38.
No pressure.
Okay, so I hope you could understand that I put subtitles there because the people who I was having this session with both are speaking different languages, and English was our common language, but they throw in words from other languages, including Hebrew, which we speak in Israel. Shall we share now Mikhail's diagnosis as well?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. So I'll put that on just so you can see. Mikhail was the pregnant woman who was eating.
By the way, did you all hear the diagnosis for Jacqueline? Was it clear in the sound? Just let us know by do a thumb up if you heard it well. If not, thumb down, just so it, yes.
Oops.
Great, fabulous.
Sorry, and I'll just have this ready 1 second. Okay.
In my case, there's two things. One, first pregnancy, the twins we had.
She had preeclampsia.
I don't know if it's called clemencia, because I don't know, but, or whatever it's called, sorry, not sure of the word.
Taxemia or preeclampsia.
Yeah, exactly. So I had the help, the whole thing. Not the regular stuff, not the protein, not the blood pressure or anything like that. So that makes automatically stress for the next pregnancy, even though it's not twins. So it cuts the chances on 50%. And the second thing, I have sakeret hirayon, but I have it for mostly for fasting. Like the main thing is I wake up in the morning and I have higher sugar levels. So I'm on a kind of strict diet and also getting insulin, something like 18 units. It's like supposedly nothing, but I take it before I go to sleep to make sure that it doesn't rush up in the morning.
Okay.
So for you, if you want to kind of like take the notes, basically when you work with your clients and starting the session, the first step will be, what is your diagnosis? And when you get the answer, it's very important to listen, look and listen, right? There's so much that we can hear from our clients when they are describing their diagnosis, so much that we can learn from their body language, from the words that they are using, right? Paula, do you want to elaborate on that a little more?
Yeah, I do, because for example, for example, somebody who has been diagnosed as gestational diabetes. That's not even a diagnosis, it's more of a
Condition.
Condition. Yeah, it's a headline for numbers, right? So you may find that this person who's has that condition of gestational diabetes will say to you, so I'm diabetic, but they actually aren't. But how do they describe themselves? What have they picked up from the conversations that they've had with their medical caregiver? It's kind of fascinating in a way to see, to hear really what are they saying about themselves and how is that affecting them? Because people can make themselves sick in the way that they perceive their experience.
Yeah. At the same token, another client might say, I've been diagnosed with gestational diabetes, which is completely like the level of severity that she's taking into her body is completely different than how it is when you say I'm diabetic, right? So this is the listening and also the looking. What is the body language? How do they hold their body when they're talking about their condition? Can tell you so much more.
Right. I mean, actually, if you look at Mikhail, even when she's talking about quite a whole serious list of different conditions, she says it in a kind of a nonchalant way where she's just like, okay, I've heard this before. I was pregnant in the past. They told me all this stuff in the past too, and I already had babies. And look at this, I'm pregnant again. And I've got it, you know? Donna, thanks.
It was great meeting you. And I also want to talk about Mikhail and say, despite the fact that she is taking it nonchalant, it's not that she's disregarding it. She is taking the steps to improve her condition, to care for herself, to care for her baby, but it doesn't seem like it penetrated the mind in a way that she's taking it on herself as if something is wrong with her.
Yeah, and I can say because we were in touch throughout the entire pregnancy and I did childbirth preparation for her, that it was in waves, right? So there were times where she was completely cool about it and other times where she called me up in tears to tell me how she was feeling after, for example, after a doctor's appointment. So, so when we understand the power of language and the power of words, so there's a value in taking time with our clients to reframe what they've spoken, okay? And helping them understand these words and also maybe asking them, okay, well, now that you have this diagnosis that you've told me about, how can this be a gift? Can you see it as a gift in any way? And so I'm going to share with you a clip where I asked that question. And let's see what they have to say.
Yeah, let me just.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, cool. And this will just take a second. Here we go. So I'm asking them both, how is this a gift for you?
I did learn from the last pregnancy to kind of shut them off because they do tend to be stressful for no reason. Or it is a reason, but please, people, you're getting me stressed, and that's the worst thing.
Yeah.
So that helps. So I'm being monitored twice a week with a monitor at least twice. Blood pressure, protein, everything is normal. Blood pressure is amazing. Everything is great. And the good thing is, they told me to rest a lot. That doesn't really happen, but that meant that the kids went to Ganim 2 weeks ago. So that was good.
You know, you're getting a break. Kids went back to Gan. So maybe a little bit of extra time for yourself. That sounds like a gift. Jacqueline, I think that might be a challenging question for you. How could this diagnosis be a gift?
To be honest, I've had such a difficult uh, pregnancy with regards to eating, drinking, nausea, sleeping, constant nausea. So now it's really the worst of the worst. Like I can barely sleep from acid reflux and all this. So, it's actually maybe somewhere also relief that I know it's not going to go on for, even so it's 2 weeks. I feel a bit really.
Okay, so when we give them that opportunity to speak about that there might be a gift in this situation, this is already creating a hormonal shift, right? We're offering up the possibility to, they're actually creating affirmations for themselves, and those affirmations can affect how they're feeling. Obviously both emotionally and also physically.
Yeah. So again, just to make it a little bit in order for you. So you had the first question, which is then describing their condition, their diagnostic in their own words. And now we started shifting their mindset around all of that, where we start to looking at it from a new angle of what it is that you can see in your condition that can be a gift. And so that will be your second question during your session with your clients. So what is a high risk in pregnancy? Because we now want to take it straight there. Paula, will you read that one for us?
So this is quite intense, right? A high risk pregnancy definition, a pregnancy that threatens the health or life of the mother, pregnant person, or their fetus. It often requires specialized care from specially trained providers. And this is the NIH, the National Institution for Health. Talking about the power of words, how does that make you feel? Imagine if you didn't know anything about high risk, but you were told you were high risk, and then you went to find out what high risk meant.
Right. So important to help our clients within that feeling that are coming up with, again, with that. So let's start and look into really, yes.
What, okay, I think what we wanted to just discuss for a minute about what high risk is in terms of doctors, right?
Right. Yes.
So,
true.
okay. So why would a doctor put a label that says high risk? Because it serves the doctor. The minute that a doctor puts on a label that says high risk, it's a reminder for that same doctor to make sure to do a closer follow-up. You once said to me something that I thought it was really sweet, and you said that if we told every woman that, hey, you're so lucky that you got that high risk label, because now you're going to get so much attention and love and care from your medical caregivers.
It shifts again. It shifts things a little bit. And yet when our clients receive the label of high risk and they start to dive into what it means, this is what they will see, right? Those kind of explanation of what high risk is. And we need to help them put things a little bit in order. First of all, reminding them that the high risk is mostly for their care provider and not so much for themselves. And also starting looking to what type of high risk they are. Now, in the medical arena, we've got the high risk as one big umbrella. Underneath, we've got a lot of different conditions that are matching the high risk category. There's no subcategories.
I want to jump in
Yes.
just for a second, because I think it's important to also realize that a high risk category is something that's based on statistics, right? It's a matter, oftentimes it's a matter of numbers. Like earlier we spoke about gestational diabetes. So that's based on numbers. And if you're below a certain number or above a certain number, that would put you in or out of this category. And many of the diagnoses are like that, where we're just walking on a line. So, okay, so if we go back to that, this label is serving the doctor to help the doctor understand what they need to do. So I think there's also a high value in asking women to connect to themselves and ask themselves, well, how do you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking here at the chat. Josie, thank you for sharing that. She's saying being called geriatric or high risk just because of my age makes me feel unviable. And I'm working on releasing that because I know how powerful the mind is. I never questioned my body's fertility until I was called that, right? And we are talking about maternal age as part of the aspects that are being under the category of the high risk. So let's look into the different subcategories under the high risk umbrella. So we've got pre-existing conditions that are a situation where a pregnant person bringing in condition, and we're not talking necessarily about health condition. This is a separate category. So for that one,
oh, go ahead, sure.
Sorry. So for that one, we can look at, for example, previous pregnancies that has a certain situation, just like Mikhail example. She had a gestational, she had the preeclampsia in her previous pregnancy with twins. And on the second pregnancy with a single baby, she was under the high risk umbrella because of an previous condition of previous pregnancy. Additional options is, for example, overweight. Somebody who is overweight their entire life, they're pregnant now, and now they're going into the category of the high risk, VBAC, etc., and maternal age, which we will talk about separately.
Yeah, or perhaps somebody who had a cesarean at their first birth. So that doesn't say much about who they are or their health, but it's considered a pre-existing condition, of course.
Yeah.
I say of course, but it's not fair that I said of course, because it's, again, it's based on statistics that there's a fear brought up, right? Concern of tear in the uterus, for example, statistically slightly higher with people who've had a previous cesarean.
Yeah. Then there's the pre-existing health conditions, which again, the pregnant person bringing into the pregnancy something health related that they carry in their body for a while. And we can think about mental conditions, for example, Paula.
Diabetes, heart condition.
Which is not gestational diabetes.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Someone who is actually diabetic, or someone who's got a heart condition, and now they're, the follow-up is going to be, of course, much closer.
Yeah. And basically any health condition, any illness that they are taking with them into the pregnancy. There's, under this umbrella, we've got the babies related health conditions. And I think that Jacqueline is a great example for it, or any other health condition that the baby might have that might be diagnosed during the pregnancy.
Right, and then someone who has multiples, right? So if there's twins or triplets or more, this is already considered a higher risk pregnancy for a lot of different issues. Yeah, possible issues, right? Mm-hmm.
And here we are with the maternal age. Maternal age, we get the G on the file, meaning geriatric.
You know, I always thought of like geriatric as like over the age of 80. And when I heard that that maternal age with geriatric was 35, I almost fainted. I couldn't believe that, you know.
35 is a kid from where we are, right? And the interesting thing, we usually talk about maternal age with regards to the G, to the geriatric, to the 35 or more, but under the same maternal age, there's also teenager, young, very, very young pregnant people.
Right.
They will be under the same category.
Yeah. Josie was asking if RH factor is considered high risk, and I would say it's usually not considered high risk unless there are reasons or signs that there might have been blood transfer, and then of course it shifts immediately into high risk. Okay, but in a normal RH negative situation, so basically there's things that you need to do, for example, take RhoGAM at a certain time, but it's not considered a high risk category.
Yeah, this is more of like a condition, but condition that doesn't reflect to the high risk as long as everything is okay. We've got the pregnancy-related situations, gestational diabetes, different conditions that has been developed during the pregnancy and related to the pregnancy specifically.
Yeah, like if the cervix gets shorter early in the pregnancy and there's a concern of a preterm labor, so that's pregnancy related, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course the birth related issues.
Oh, then also pregnancy related might be like a baby who's showing bigger or smaller. And I find that's fascinating, especially in the United States, how people are running off to cesarean constantly because they've been told that their baby is big or their baby is small. And again, we're on a spectrum,
need to remember,
right?
Yeah, it's estimation. Like we can't really tell baby's weight until the baby is out and we are measuring his or her weight.
Yeah, we know that ultrasound is not very reliable source of information, but it's what we've got.
Regards, yes. And then we've got all the birth-related special circumstances or high risk, and that can be meconial water, that can be preterm labor.
Also something like a placenta previa. So
that hasn't been
right. If the placenta, so placenta previa is something that's being followed during the pregnancy. It's not really a high risk situation unless someone goes into labor and the placenta is still covering the cervix. And in that case, now we're in a high risk situation, right?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry.
And I said now because a lot of times clients will come to you and they're carrying so much stress about the diagnosis that they got, but it might not be an issue quite yet, right? Like, for example, placenta previa, somebody's really stressing out about it early in the pregnancy, and then the placenta moves. And so it's not for her, it's actually not an issue at all. But what happened to her during the pregnancy when she got the news, and how did she take it in?
Yeah. So I think that as part of our work as birth keepers, it's really important for us to understand the conditions, to understand the subcategories, and help our clients understand their condition, because knowledge is power. So we need to be knowledgeable, and then we need to transfer that knowledge and that understanding to our clients, help them know their condition, and help them also to know how it can play out in their care during their pregnancy, and also how it might play out in their care during the birth. And we can talk about, I mean, this is a huge subject to cover. This is something that we cover in many details during the training, but for you really need to understand those conditions and really help your client process it, and understand their options of care, understand their condition, understand under the umbrella where they sit, and really empower your client with knowing and understanding what to expect to some extent. And those are the things that we are covering in many details also during the training,
Right. So
with the center of the mind body, which is really important to mention. So we're not just listing for you like a condition and go into details of the condition physically. We're also entering always the mind aspect, the chemical reaction in the body, the expression of the condition.
Right.
Sorry, Paula.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just thinking about, what I said before about the placenta previa, that somebody comes to you and she's like already sees herself doing a cesarean and she's only week 20, right? And if you already understand what this diagnosis is, so you'll be there to say to them, oh, hey, no worries. The placenta is bound to move as your belly grows, and you're helping them make a shift. Now, I think there's so much to be understood in that this woman, if she was to carry that fear throughout her pregnancy, that fear has its own manifestation, right? It's going to be affecting the hormones that she is dealing with and feeling, and it's going to be affecting her baby also, and perhaps even that baby's development on some level.
Yeah.
So
as next step in our work with the client, as we work through the steps, we had them. Sorry, I keep on repeating it just to make it in an order. We help, we hear from them their diagnosis. We help them start to shift their mindset around it and see it as a gift. And now we start, we explain to them the condition, their options of care, releasing some of the tension that they might have around their condition. And now we start and help them knowing themselves, giving them a mirror in a way. And in that step, we lead them with 4 very important questions. We start to look at what are their strengths. How can they prepare themselves emotionally to feel safe and strong during the birth of their babies? What will help them feel safe? How can they allow themselves to release tension? So once we start to look into those questions for the clients, they start to see where are their strengths, what are their tools. And the interesting thing is that it resonates with them, it brings them into a new place, and they can apply those, whether in their conscious mind or subconsciously, apply those tools into their birth experiences.
So I'm going
Paula,
to...
I'm releasing the share.
Okay, great. And I'm going to share the screen now with you, and we can check in and see what they had to say about those questions. I'm sorry, it'll just take me a second.
By the way, this clip has no subtitles. So we hope you already got used to their to their accent and you'll manage to understand the content. If not, let us know.
Yeah, so okay, so the first question was where do you find your strength? Okay, so let's see what they have to say.
Let me pull the full screen. Yeah.
Probably pain, handling pain.
I know I have good vibes and everything and good energy, so I'll focus on that and making the room happy and funny and sarcastic. Both Itai and I are very sarcastic, so good luck for anyone around us. So I'm trying to focus on my body can do it, I can do it. It's painful, but it'll be over. It doesn't have to be painful. There's different kinds of pain, and I can do it and I can control it. If your body's not there, it's not there yet. Don't push it. I read in different groups about these girls that they go to the hospitals on like Pticha 1 and they're being attached to the bed and they're there for like 2 weeks before.
She was sorry, just to explain what she was saying, that some women would, or some birthing people would arrive at the hospital so early in the process with like a 1 centimeter opening and then find themselves staying there and waiting.
Or it even started.
And induced, probably.
And I'm like, your body's not there. Don't do that yet. So I'm kind of in the between all those thoughts and feelings.
So how do you prepare yourself emotionally?
Trusting my gut feeling. Trying to take everything into proportion and trying to analyze everything, trying to think clearly. Like looking at things from the sides and saying, all right, where am I now? What are the figures in front of me? What are the parameters? And seeing how you attack it. How do you solve that solution now? And then with that, so that's what I do every time now. Like I have twice a week the monitor. So I sit with my headphones on because it's very noisy around. So doing my breathing and focusing music or the hypnobirth and trying to focus out. And when I see that the pulse is going up or down, I try to react to that, trying to talk to that, trying to see why are we doing this? Why am I feeling that this moment? And trying to believe that if I feel stressed in that moment, that's why the pulse is going up. So I have to find a solution of reducing my stress in that moment. So if that means making the music louder or I don't know what, all kinds of things.
The scariest is being vulnerable to all these people doing things on you and not trusting them or having a good relationship with that specific person, and that can, for me, can be very it can cause a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
Like one of the worst situations the most worst anxieties I have is going to a dentist and lying on your back and you know, and you tell them, I want to know exactly what you're gonna do, and you need to say what you're gonna do every time you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And explain. And he's like, what are you, 5 years old? And la, 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 and start to be rough. And this can be very, I can break into sweats and get very extremely anxious.
I think it could benefit you a lot. I mean, it sounds like you should change dentists, but I think it would be.
Hey, I've done that.
Oh, good, good. I think it would be great for you to let the midwife or doctor know that this is a thing for you, that this is an issue, and that it's really important for you.
This is why I also took a doula, because I think we talked about these things as well.
So what makes you feel safe?
And just in the end is the day after. You have your baby in your hand. That's what's important. So I'm focused on that. In the if in the end they say, listen, do a C-section, okay,
Yeah.
let's do it. Let's find a way to do it the most positive way.
And about releasing tension, how do you stay present?
Breathing. Just remember the oxygen. So like I had Hickson's 2 weeks ago or something like that, and that yeah, those, and it caught me off guard. And the first reaction was, oh, what the hell? What is that? Like, so after that first reaction, it was just like, okay, all right. So pain, what equals pain? What is pain? What do you need to do in pain? As I said before, go out, try analyzing it in the moment that stops a second. So the minute I started breathing and drinking, it worked. So just breathing it, finding how to detach from the area and breathing.
Awesome.
Breathing just on its own, I find it quite hard because my mind still gets quite absorbed by the pain or the situation or the stress. So it's like taking my mind away to something else. So it could be either with like reflexology or somebody external, or it could be the audio.
Okay, good.
Because I find it hard to focus when I'm in pain. So I find it hard to say, I'm going to think about this anchor and breathe, but still these forces are like, it's a bit stronger. But when it's like an audio, then it kind of makes you travel a bit.
I'll just explain it. It was a little bit hard to hear what Jacqueline was saying, but she said that just focusing on breathing wasn't enough for her, and that for her, she needed some kind of external support, which could be, for example, her doula doing reflexology, or it could be something like listening to a guided imagery track. I just want to point out that by asking these questions, the women are already making that mind shift in the fact that they are themselves finding their own strength as they're speaking. Maybe something that they never thought of before. And then all of a sudden they're bringing awareness to things that they do that do help.
Let's see how their birth played out, just to kind of complete the circle for you, getting to know them. Paula, do you want to?
Yeah, so here's Mikhail. So what happened here, Paula, it was crazy. In the last 2 weeks, it was really a battle. I learned more and more every day and stood in front of doctors and teams. However, in the end, I did it my way. Okay, this is a woman who was told to have a baby, I don't know, probably a week 38 or something like that, and managed to take her birth through until her babies decided it was time to come. And it was an incredible experience for her because she had that inner strength and the knowledge of her listening to her own body and feeling what was right for her and feeling confident about coming to her caregivers in a state of calm and then explaining to them what was important to her.
Yeah, and I just want to mention here, it was with the follow-up of the doctors, of her care providers. She didn't just take decisions just out of thin air. It was
Right.
what we call informed decisions that she was taking. And you could also see her personality throughout the clips that we showed you. She's strong, she knows her way, and she found the strength point during those sessions, and they are the strength points that expressed during the birth of her baby.
Yeah. Here's Jacqueline. And after her birth, she wrote, hypnobirthing really helped me through the whole labor. I had no cervical opening, then put the audio tracks on and went from 1 centimeter to 10 centimeters in 2 hours. That was after 30 hours of no progress. So this was quite amazing because she was induced, and yet incredible how her body just at some point just said, okay, I want to do this. So my answer to her, that is amazing.
Yeah, and it's also important again to mention that in the session, she was already identifying that tool as a tool that will help her. And that was indeed the case.
Right, that's beautiful, right? That she was able to in the session to already know what her tool might be, and that it came up just from that question, right? It's possible to go to induction, be so nervous about it that you're clueless and you have no tools, but she already had one because she had thought about it beforehand. Yeah.
Right. So we'll try to go over this part as fast as we can because we want to respect your time. And we will also open this section for questions. So we want to introduce to you the Mind Body Birthkeepers training. Basically, our training is based on 3 pillars, 3 bases. First of all, everything is based on the integrative approach of the mind, body, soul. You got a little bit of sneak peek to the way that we do and see things, the tips and the tools, how to support your clients with that approach in mind. And obviously during the training, we go much, much deeper into those aspects of the mind, body. We also carry through our training the idea of bridging between 2 worlds, bridging between the medical scientific approach to birth, medical scientific approach to pregnancy and postpartum, to the natural, spiritual approach to the childbearing year. So we really want to make sure that you've got that bridge to support your clients in, again, a holistic and complete way, no matter what their choices and their beliefs are. And the 3rd pillar is everything about you as a birth keeper. We are doing the training in a way where we continuously provide you the mentorship and the support throughout the time that we're together to make sure that you've got everything that you need during that time. There's also the community support where other birth keepers in the training support each other.
We'd like to see you taking the concepts and taking them into your work. And of course, once you take them into your work, you're going to want to talk about your experiences and have feedback and have a chance to debrief. And so that's the community is really about supporting each other. So we have this training structure. It's a 12-month program. We decided to take the 12 months in order to really have time to let these concepts sink in, and so that we could go through the whole childbearing year, starting from fertility through conception to pregnancy and birth and postpartum. It says here 3 trimesters, otherwise known as semesters in college. So we've broken up our course into 3 sections, and in between each section, we're going to have a 4-week period of implementation time, meaning take what you've learned and take it out to your work, and we'll meet up, but we'll just meet up to talk about your experiences. So there's learning time, and then there's implementation time. Okay, we meet live on Zoom. It's a weekly session, and each session averages about 1.5 hours. Some of the meetings may be a little shorter, some might be just a bit longer.
We're not going to go over the modules, but we really invite you to visit our webpage So you'll be able to see the different modules and the different subjects that we are sharing and having during our trainings. You will find there everything, again, mind body related, from childbearing year up until the postpartum, including tool sets for you as a birth keeper, and how to bring it into your practice. So for those of you who stick in with us and went through the entire webinar, Paula, you want to go over what we offer today?
We would like to give you a little bit of an incentive to sign up for our training. And so for the next 24 hours, you have $75 off of our tuition fee. You'll also get a free gift of our birth reflection guide worksheet, which is a wonderful tool to use after birth when conversing with clients and to help them process what they've experienced. And one more gift is to have a 20-minute one-on-one session with myself or with Gili. We're happy to talk about anything you want to talk about in terms of perhaps your work or your own experiences with birth, or maybe you just have lots of questions about the course, but we're here for you, and you're all invited.
So we wanted to thank you for spending this wonderful time with us, and we open the conversation for questions from you. I will be happy to answer any question that you might have, either about the supporting the high-risk clients or about the training.
Feel free to unmute yourselves. Yeah, or in the chat, or just unmute yourself, and if you have questions. And I think, you know, there's some people who came on while we were talking, and I'd love to hear where you're from and what you're doing. If you're already working in the birthing field. Tasha, where are you from? Are you a birth keeper already? Not sure if she can hear us. And Naomi. Yeah. If you're shy, you don't have to talk, but we'd love to hear from you. Hi there.
So any questions, guys? Hi.
I live in Israel, and I'm a doula in my my spare time. It's my hobby.
Fantastic. Where in Israel are you located?
Nice to meet you too. In Jerusalem.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm waving at you from Tel Aviv.
Okay. Very nice. Really enjoyed what you had to share.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Josie. I see you writing here. Thank you so much for doing this important work. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time with us. Any questions, guys?
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if you've had any thoughts or experiences that you want to share about working with high risk. Maybe you've dealt with it on a personal level already. Josie had mentioned that the big G.
Yeah, the maternal age. Okay. All right, guys. I guess we can call it a day, and we can close this webinar. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you and your time. And if you have any questions about the training, go ahead and check it out. Maybe we can just put here a link to the webpage if you want to explore further. Melissa, if you're here.
That'd be great to put it in the chat. Josie, you know, I was thinking about the G, and I just thought, hey, you know, you can take a moment also to ask yourself, what gifts does it bring? Like, for example, just thinking about, okay, well, they've put this category on me. What can I take with it? Maybe making extra efforts to take great care of your body. Maybe it's something you already do, but it might be like the little extra incentive that you it's a gift, right? To have somebody give you that little kick in the butt.
Excuse me,
Judith. Yes, Deborah.
can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I had to come in late, so I missed a lot of the first part. Is the replay going to be sent through an email?
Yes. Yeah, you
Great.
can have the recording.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank
Thank
you
you.
for coming.
Yes, I'm from the
Judith.
USA,
And where are
USA,
you?
we're in the US,
North Carolina.
Fantastic.
North Carolina.
Beautiful.
So I'm waving to you from New York City. And just before we leave, I see the note from Judith. She's saying she was high risk with her first pregnancy, hypertension, and that led her to follow her calling as a birth and postpartum doula. So common when we have either a certain more difficult birth or very inspiring birth, to follow the work of a doula, of a birth keeper. Very, very common. Thank you for sharing that.
It's amazing too, isn't it?
All right.
How hypertension can often lead, just the diagnosis of hypertension can lead to more hypertension, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Absolutely.
amazing if you can take this and say, okay, what can I do with this? Where are my strengths? Maybe I know how to bring down my blood pressure myself.
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely. And those are one of those tools that we are teaching during the training with breathing, etc., how to support your clients. Guys, thank you so much for being here with us. And we would love to hear from you in the future, and maybe see you with us in the training.
Yeah, sign up. We can't wait to be with you throughout the year.
Share more wisdom with you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Take care.